And so today, chips and dips. If you want to know how to make the most amazing, spicy and zingy Mexican-style salsa and an incredibly Moorish guacamole served with some homemade nacho chips, then stick around because I'm going to show you how to do it right now. So let's do it. The first step, we need an onion. You want to chop your onion in half, remove the skins, and we want to dice up the onion really nice, big and chunky. Next, we need some tomatoes. So take a baking tray, chuck in some tomatoes along with your diced onion. Next, we need some fresh chilies. Chuck your chilies into the baking tray with your onion and tomato, and then we need some garlic. Chuck in a few cloves of garlic, leave them in the skins because we don't want them to burn when they're cooking, and then drizzle everything with some olive oil. Massage in the olive oil to all the ingredients, make sure they're nicely coated, and then we want to turn on a grill between medium and high and chuck in your tray of vegetables. We want to beautifully roast off and blister our vegetables, so keep checking them, and while they're roasting we can start our nacho chips. So take some small soft tortillas and very simply chop them in half, stack them up, chop them in half again, and then finally cut them into eighths. At this point, quickly check your vegetables, see how they're getting on. They're likely going to need a bit longer, so while we're waiting we can make our nacho spice mix. So take a small bowl, and first up we need some smoked paprika. We want 2 teaspoons of the smoked paprika, and next we need some cumin. We want 1 teaspoon of your cumin, and lastly we want some chili powder, and we want another 1 teaspoon of the chili powder. Finish with a few twists of some freshly ground black pepper and give the spice mix a really good mixing, and then set that aside till we need it. At this point your vegetables should be pretty much there, so have a quick look, get them out from under the grill, and we just want to remove the blistered skins from the tomatoes and the chilies. Chuck those into a bowl. Once you've done this, you want to take your garlic, remove the beautifully roasted garlic from their skins and chuck those into the bowl. Also chuck in your blistered onion. At this point we're going to need some fresh limes. Chop your limes in half and then juice those into a bowl or a mug or whatever you've got. Best thing is to buy one of these simple juicers, and then we need a blender, and you want to start by chucking your roasted vegetables into the blender. Pour in a nice splash of your lime juice along with a nice handful of fresh coriander, and then give it a good season with some sea salt and black pepper. And then we want to blitz this really quickly. We want it to be mixed up, but we want to retain a little texture, and then give it a taste for seasoning. Add any more sea salt, pepper or lime juice. One last quick blast in the blender, and then pour that out into a bowl, stick it to one side. Next we can bake our nacho chips. So you want to take a nice big baking tray and line it with your tortilla chips. Give them a nice drizzle in some olive oil, and then take a minute to make sure you coat all of the chips in the oil. Try not to let them overlap as much as you can, and once they're coated in the oil, give them a nice season with some sea salt, and then with a sieve give them a really nice dusting in your spice mix. Turn them over and hit both sides with the seasoning and the spices, and then we want to turn on the oven nice and low, around 120 to 130, and chuck in your tortillas. They'll probably take about 10 to 15 minutes. We're just looking for them to get nice and crispy, but we don't want them to get too brown or they'll taste burnt and bitter. While your tortillas are gently baking, we want to take some avocados, and with a really sharp knife cut around the sides of the avocados, twist them open, and then give the stone a nice gentle tap with your knife and twist out the stone. Pinch the stone off of the knife gently, and then you want to cut into the flesh of the avocados in a crisscross pattern. Once you've done this, turn the avocado flesh out into a bowl, and then we're going to need some fresh coriander. Take a handful of your coriander, bunch it up with your hand, and we want to chop this fairly fine, but do keep a little bit of coarseness. And then we need some pickled jalapenos. Chuck a few jalapenos onto the chopping board and chop through them with your knife, and then I like to mix my jalapenos and coriander together and chop my way through the both of them. Add a couple of teaspoons to your avocado. Also add a really nice splash of some lime juice, and then get in there with a masher, give it a really good mashing up, but do keep a bit of coarseness to the mixture. We don't want it to be baby food. Next, we need a red onion. Chop your red onion in half, remove the skins, and we want to chop this up fairly fine, but not super fine. We do want to keep a bit of coarseness. So chop your way through your onion. Once you've done that, add a couple of teaspoons to your mixture, give it a mix through, and then we need some tomatoes. And you want to chop your tomatoes in half, and then in half again, and then I like to remove the core and the seeds, discard those, and then spend a minute dicing up your tomatoes about the same size as your onion. Once you've got your tomatoes nicely diced up, add a few teaspoons of those to the mixture, and then give the guacamole a really nice mix through. Give it a taste for seasoning, make any adjustments that you need, and there we have a beautiful, indulgent and Moorish guacamole. At this point, check on your chips. They should be nicely crispy, and if they're ready, remove those from the oven and leave them for about 15 to 20 minutes just to cool down. And then we want to chuck some of our nacho chips into a bowl, and then into another bowl, spoon in some of your lovely spicy zingy salsa, and into a third bowl, spoon in some of your lovely fresh guacamole. And there we have some amazing homemade chips and dips. So get in the kitchen, guys, get cooking and enjoy.